everybody. Today we're going to talk about our Pacman frogs. I happen to have one here in his habitat. Pacman frogs were named after a very popular video game called Pacman, where there's a creature with a huge mouth that goes around and gobbles everything up. You're going to notice when we show you a close-up of the Pacman where he gets that name, because most of his body looks like it's just one big mouth. Now, Pacman frogs are actually from an area in the Amazon, and they are normally in freshwater marshes. And they're pretty popular as pets, I think, because of their ease of care, and also the fact that they do come in some pretty colorful morphs, which we're going to show you a little bit later. So I think they can be interesting pets. Now, they're not going to move around much. If you're looking for a pet that's active, forget about the Pacman frog. He's more of a sedentary animal that sort of sits and waits for his food to crawl in front of him, reaches out and gobbles it up with that big old mouth. Now, Pacman frogs are part of the family called the amphibians. And amphibians include frogs, toads, newts, and salamanders. And they all have very special skin. Their skin is special for a couple different reasons. One is the Pacman frog and other amphibians don't have to really get a drink. You see his water here. He doesn't drink with his mouth. He sits in that bowl and the water is absorbed through his skin like a sponge or a paper towel. So we have water in here. What you would see him doing is he would go in and sit in the bowl and soak up the water through his skin. Pacman frog was burrowed down into the soil. That is something that they like to do. Their other name is an Argentine horned frog, and if you look closely, you'll notice above their eyes, it does look like they have like a little point up there, so that's where that name comes from. But he was burrowed down into the soil, and they like to do that and just sort of sit and wait on the prey. But if he needed some moisture today, to get a drink again, he would sit in his water dish and soak it in right through his skin. He can also do some breathing right through his skin. Well, amphibians are a good indicator of that as well, because everything goes in through their skin. If there's air pollution, water pollution, it's going in through their body, and they can get very sick quickly by that. This is why you see me wearing a glove today. We have oils in our skin that can be very detrimental to the Pacman, because everything that we have, if we have a little hand cleaner left on our hands, or soap or salt coming out of our body when we sweat, and we handle an amphibian with our bare hand, we can actually cause that to go in through his skin, clog up his pores, and plus it can make him very sick. So when we do have to handle the amphibian, which these are not very good for handling, you just want to do it only if you're trying to show somebody or if you're cleaning their enclosure. But when you do handle them, make sure you have a glove on. You don't want to handle them with your bare hands, and that's again for their protection. So we're going to sit him back down in there. Now, you probably got to look at his mouth, and he does indeed look like the Pacman from the game Pacman. We're going to try to feed him today. Now, a pretty neat thing about most of your amphibians is, there we go, is that if he eats something that makes him a little sick, no problem. He can actually spit his stomach out, scrape it clean with his front legs, swallow it again, and he doesn't feel sick anymore, which is something else interesting about a lot of our frogs and toads, is the ability to do that, which is handy. That means you don't have to worry about being sick for a couple days. You simply spit it out and clean it with your front legs and get it all over with. So the amphibians, a lot of our frogs and toads have that ability. And we're going to see if he has any interest at all. We have some canned cockroaches here. Now, I just disturbed him a lot, so this might take him a while to decide if he's going to eat. And some of them will eat canned insects, but they do prefer live. They eat cockroaches, dubia roaches, not like the cockroaches that would be found sometimes in houses and barns. There we go. They eat waxworms, mealworms. They will also eat small mice when they get a little bigger. Female Pacmans are known to get about 8 inches wide. The males stay a little smaller, maybe 4 to 6, but the females can get about 8 inches when they're full grown. So they are capable of eating a mouse when they get to be full grown.
As time goes by.
These are usually captive. All of our color morphs are captive. They are not taken from the wild. They're actually born in somebody's home. So we don't have wild caught Pacman frogs. We have captive born. You want to make sure that you're not wiggling your finger in front of them because, again, they are an ambush animal. They will sit, burrow down into the soil just like you saw him earlier. They'll wait for something to come by, and when it comes by, they'll reach out, grab it, and swallow it. When they're swallowing their food item, they actually use their eyes to push the food down to their belly. So when you see them eat, if we can get him to eat anything, you will see him use his eyeballs to push that food down to his stomach. Okay, everybody, well, thanks for joining us today. Our little Pac-Man is safely burrowed down in the soil again. We're going to try and feed him a little bit later. And we're going to also show a few shots of some of the color morphs that we have available right now in our reptile room. They're beautiful different colors that they come into. These animals would normally use camouflage if they were the typical color, which would be brown and green. But when you take a look at our morphs, you'll see that they won't be able to camouflage very well. Okay, thanks for joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on our Facebook page or through our website. Thank you.